I remember that day so clearly, as if it happened only yesterday. The hall was filled with laughter, music, and the smell of fresh flowers. My friends clapped, my family smiled, and the lights sparkled against the decorated walls. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. But deep inside, something felt wrong, something I could not put into words. And before the cake was even cut, I realized that my marriage was already over. Maybe you are wondering how a marriage can end on the very day it begins. Maybe you are asking yourself how a husband can lose everything in the very moment he thought he had won it all. I asked myself those same questions that night, when my world collapsed in front of me. But to understand what really happened, I need to take you back, to the very beginning, when I first met her. Her name was Emily. I met her at a friend's birthday party 2 years before our wedding. She had this bright smile, the kind of smile that made you feel warm, even if you had known her for only a few minutes. She wore a simple blue dress that night, nothing too flashy, but she stood out in the room. I remember thinking that I had never seen someone so effortlessly beautiful. When we first started talking, it felt easy, natural, like we had known each other for years. She laughed at my jokes, and I listened closely when she spoke. She told me about her job, her love for books, her passion for photography. I told her about my work, my family, my dreams. That night, I thought I had found the woman I would build my future with. We exchanged numbers, and from that day forward, we never stopped talking. Every morning, she would text me, "Good morning," with a little heart at the end. Every night, she would call me just to hear my voice before she went to sleep. I thought it was love. No, I was certain it was love. But love is tricky. It hides things you are not ready to see. It covers lies with charm. It blinds you with hope. And it makes you ignore the small cracks that later turn into deep wounds. For the first year, Emily and I were inseparable. We went out on long drives, ate at small restaurants, and spent hours walking through the park. She was always on her phone, taking pictures, sending messages. I never thought much of it back then. I told myself, she just likes staying connected. It is nothing. But sometimes, late at night, I caught her smiling at her phone, typing quickly, and then hiding the screen when I walked into the room. My heart would sink, but my mind would quickly come to her defense. Do not be insecure, I told myself. She loves you. Maybe you know that feeling, the quiet doubt you push aside, the fear you bury deep inside your heart. That was me. When I proposed to Emily, it was in the middle of a crowded restaurant. I was shaking, nervous, but excited. I went down on one knee, and everyone around us cheered. She gasped, covered her mouth, and said yes. In that moment, I felt like the luckiest man alive. My parents hugged me, her friends screamed in joy, and for a while, I believed we were destined for happiness. The months leading up to the wedding were busy. Emily took control of almost everything. She chose the flowers, the music, the food. I let her, because I thought it was her dream day, and I wanted her to have it exactly the way she imagined. I worked extra hours to pay for it all, telling myself that nothing mattered more than making her happy. But the closer we got to the wedding, the more distant she became. Sometimes she would come home late, saying she was meeting the wedding planner. Other times she would lock herself in her room, whispering on the phone. When I asked who she was talking to, she would snap back. "It is just a friend, stop being controlling." I told myself again and again that I needed to trust her. But every night, my stomach tightened with unease. Finally, the wedding day arrived. I remember standing at the altar, my hands trembling, my chest heavy with both nerves and excitement. When Emily walked down the aisle, wearing that white dress, she looked like an angel. Everyone stood up, everyone stared, and for a moment, I forgot all the doubts. I told myself, this is it. Today we start a new life. All the questions and fears will vanish. But as she walked toward me, I noticed something in her eyes. She was smiling, yes, but her eyes were distant, as if she was somewhere else entirely. When the ceremony ended, everyone cheered. We were officially husband and wife. People hugged us, kissed us, congratulated us. We laughed, we posed for photos, we danced. From the outside, it looked like a perfect wedding. But inside my heart, there was a storm. During the reception, I noticed Emily stepping aside more than once. She would excuse herself, go near the corner of the hall, and talk to someone on her phone. When she came back, she acted normal, but I could see the glow in her face, the kind of glow you do not get from a casual call. At one point, I followed her with my eyes. She slipped out of the hall, phone pressed to her ear, and I swear I heard her laugh in a way she never laughed with me. It was a laugh full of excitement, almost nervous, almost guilty. I tried to shake it off. I told myself, do not ruin your wedding day with suspicion. Just enjoy the night. But it was impossible. The feeling kept growing stronger, louder, screaming in my chest that something was terribly wrong. And then, just before we were about to cut the cake, I saw it. Emily was standing near the back door, phone in hand. She thought no one was watching. Her face lit up, not with the joy of a bride on her wedding day, but with the passion of someone who had already given her heart elsewhere. I walked closer, hidden behind the crowd, and I heard her whisper into the phone. I love you too. I cannot wait to see you later. My world froze. The music around me faded, the laughter disappeared, and the room spun. I could not move. I could not breathe. My wife, the woman I had just promised my life to, was telling another man that she loved him. And it was happening right there, before the cake was even cut. Backhand index pointing right. If you are still listening, do not forget to like this video. It helps the channel grow so we can share more shocking true lifestyle stories like this one. At that moment, I wanted to scream. I wanted to walk up to her, grab the phone, and confront her in front of everyone. But something inside me told me to wait. To stay quiet. To let her dig her own grave. So I smiled. I stood with the guests, pretending everything was normal, while inside, my heart was breaking into pieces. I remembered all the nights I stayed awake waiting for her, all the sacrifices I made, all the dreams I built around her. And now, in just a few seconds, those dreams had burned to ashes. But this was only the beginning. Because what I discovered after that moment, what I uncovered in the days that followed, was far worse than anything I could have imagined. Backhand index pointing right. Comment below. What would you do if you were in my place? Would you confront her right away, or wait for the truth to come out? I sat in the car outside my own house that night, unable to bring myself to open the door. The glow of the living room light spilled faintly through the curtains, and I could see her shadow moving across the room. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. I felt like a stranger in my own home, like the very foundation beneath my feet had cracked and I was about to fall into a bottomless pit. When I finally walked in, she greeted me with a smile so effortless, so natural, that it almost made me doubt everything I had seen and heard. She asked about my day, handed me a plate of dinner, and talked about ordinary things like groceries, bills, and my sister calling earlier. Her calmness was unnerving. Either she was a better actress than I ever imagined, or she had convinced herself so deeply that nothing was wrong, that she could play the part of a loving wife without hesitation. But inside me, the storm was growing stronger. I started noticing the little changes in her routine. She spent more time on her phone, always tilting the screen away when I walked past. She said she was joining a friend for coffee but came back with a faint trace of perfume that I knew was not hers. Her laughter seemed to belong to someone else now. I used to be the one who made her laugh like that, but it had shifted, like a precious treasure stolen in the night. One evening, while she was in the shower, I picked up her phone. My heart was pounding so loudly I thought she might hear it over the running water. I scrolled quickly, terrified of what I might find, and yet needing the truth more than I needed my own breath. There they were. Messages. Not explicit, not yet crossing the line of undeniable proof, but full of affection, warmth, and subtle longing. I cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Today felt too short. You understand me like no one else." Those words cut deeper than any knife could. They were not meant for me. They were meant for someone else. And suddenly, the laughter, the distant gaze, the secrecy, it all made sense. I put the phone back exactly as it was, but my mind was no longer the same. That night I could not sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, while she rested peacefully beside me. How could she sleep so easily while I was drowning in questions? I turned my head toward her, watching her breathe, and I wondered, was this woman really the same person I had vowed to spend my life with? Or had she already left me long before I even realized it? The next day, I followed her. I told myself it was wrong, that I should not spy on my wife, but my feet moved on their own. She said she was going shopping. I parked a distance away, keeping my car hidden. My chest tightened when I saw her walk into a cafe, not alone, but with him. He was younger, maybe by a few years, dressed casually, leaning in close to her like he had every right to. She laughed with him, touched his hand lightly across the table, and looked at him with the kind of admiration that once belonged only to me. I sat in my car, gripping the seat so hard it hurt, every instinct screaming at me to storm inside and confront them. But I did not. I froze. My whole body locked in place, my mind torn between rage and disbelief. I felt like the walls of the world were closing in around me. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. They finally left, walking side by side, their bodies too close for strangers. I watched them until they disappeared from view, and then I drove home, my heart shattered into pieces I could not put back together. At home, she walked in with a shopping bag, smiled at me, and asked if I wanted tea. As if nothing had happened. As if I had not just seen her give away the intimacy that belonged to us. That night, when she slept, I sat on the balcony, staring into the dark sky. My mind played the same questions over and over. Should I confront her now? Should I wait? Should I gather more proof? Should I walk away? Every option felt like pain. The next few weeks were torture. I tried to act normal, but I was falling apart inside. I became quieter, more withdrawn. She noticed, but she never asked. Perhaps she knew the walls were closing in. Or perhaps she simply did not care anymore. One evening, when she said she was meeting a friend again, I looked straight at her and asked, "Which friend?" She froze, just for a moment, before answering too quickly. "Sarah. You know Sarah." But I did not know Sarah. I never had. Her eyes flickered, and I caught it. That flicker of guilt, that tiny hesitation that told me more than any words could. That was the moment I knew. She was lying to my face. And if she could lie so easily about something so big, then how many times had she already lied about the little things? How many secrets had she already buried beneath the surface of our marriage? The betrayal was no longer a suspicion. It was a reality. If you are still listening to my story, do not forget to like this video. It keeps me motivated to share more shocking real-life betrayal stories with you. From that day, I made a decision. I would not confront her with anger. Not yet. I would not shout or break things. I would be calm, patient, and watchful. I would let her dig her own grave with lies until the truth was undeniable. I began documenting everything. Dates, times, excuses she gave me, and what I actually discovered. I took photos discreetly when I could. I saved messages. Piece by piece, I was building the puzzle that would one day reveal the whole picture. But as I collected proof, something unexpected began to happen inside me. The anger grew darker. It was no longer just pain, it was turning into something sharper, something that whispered to me late at night when I could not sleep. A voice that said, "You deserve revenge. She must feel what you feel. She must break the way she broke you." And that thought scared me. Because I knew, once I chose revenge, there would be no turning back. The night of truth came sooner than I thought. For weeks I had carried the weight of secrets, building a silent archive of her betrayal. Photos, messages, lies, excuses, all stacked in my mind like heavy stones pressing down on my chest. I could barely eat. Sleep was a stranger. My mind replayed every laugh she shared with him, every word that was not meant for me. But the moment came when I could not carry it any longer. It was a Saturday evening. We were supposed to attend a family dinner together. She dressed beautifully, in the blue dress I once loved on her, the one she wore on our anniversary years ago. My heart clenched as I watched her adjust her hair, smiling at herself in the mirror. That smile was not mine anymore. I waited until she was ready, until the room was quiet, and then I spoke. I know. She froze, her lipstick brush halfway to her lips. Slowly, she turned to me, her face pale. What do you mean? I know everything, I said calmly, though inside I was shaking. The cafe. The messages. The lies. I know about him. For a moment she did not move. The silence stretched between us like a blade. Then she laughed nervously, shaking her head. You are imagining things. You are overthinking. But I had proof. I pulled out my phone and placed it on the table, opening the folder of pictures, screenshots, and dates. Her eyes flickered to the screen, and that was all it took. The truth was written in her silence. She sank into the chair, her hands trembling. I never wanted to hurt you, she whispered. Those words cut deeper than the betrayal itself. Never wanted to hurt me? Yet every action had been a knife to my heart. I asked her the question that had haunted me for months. Why? Her eyes filled with tears, but her voice was steady. Because I felt unseen. I felt like you were there, but not really there. He listened. He made me feel alive again. Alive again. As if my love, my loyalty, my sacrifices were not enough. As if years of marriage could be thrown away for a few stolen smiles and whispered lies. I wanted to scream, to shatter everything in the room. But I stayed calm. My silence scared her more than my anger could. You destroyed our marriage, I said finally. And you did it before the wedding cake was even cut. Her eyes widened. She knew what I meant. She knew I had seen her connection to him long before she thought I had. The room was heavy with truth, but the story was not finished. Because betrayal never ends with just confession. It demands a resolution. The next weeks were chaos. She begged me to forgive her. She cried, wrote me letters, tried to cook my favorite meals, tried to hold my hand. But every touch felt like poison now. Every word sounded like manipulation. Forgiveness was not a door I could walk through anymore. My family found out. Some relatives told me to forgive, to think about our years together, to rebuild. Others told me to leave, to protect my dignity. The battle inside me was louder than all their voices combined. One night, when she had fallen asleep, I stared at her face in the dim light. I wondered if I could ever see her as the woman I had once loved. But every time I tried, the image of her with him at the cafe replaced it. The decision came like a storm. Sudden, unstoppable. I filed for divorce. When I told her, she collapsed into sobs. Do not do this, she pleaded. We can fix it. I will cut him off. I will change. But it was too late. Trust, once broken, is a glass that can never be whole again. The courtroom was cold. I sat across from her, watching the woman I once thought I would grow old with sign papers that ended everything. Her hand shook as she signed, but she signed anyway. The marriage was over. Not with shouting, not with violence, but with silence and ink on paper. People often ask me if I regret it. If I regret not forgiving, not giving her another chance. My answer is always the same. I regret trusting blindly. I regret not seeing the signs earlier. I regret wasting years on someone who could betray me so easily. But I do not regret leaving. Because leaving was the only way I could save myself. The pain did not vanish overnight. Some days I still wake up expecting her beside me. Some nights I dream of what could have been if she had chosen me instead of him. But healing is not about forgetting. It is about remembering and choosing to move forward anyway. And as I stand here today, telling you my story, I realize something. Betrayal breaks you, but it also remakes you. It forces you to see the world with clearer eyes, to value yourself enough to walk away when love turns into poison. So if you are listening, and you are in the middle of your own heartbreak, remember this: you deserve honesty, loyalty, and love that does not make you question your worth. If my story speaks to you, subscribe to this channel for more shocking real lifestyle stories. And tell me in the comments, what would you do if you discovered your spouse betrayed you? I walked out of that marriage with nothing but my dignity. And sometimes dignity is worth more than any love that betrays you. The marriage was over before the cake was cut. But my life, my real life, had only just begun. After the divorce papers were signed, I thought the story was finished. But betrayal leaves ripples, and those ripples touch everyone around you. Her family reached out to me first. Her mother called me one evening, her voice trembling. "Son, please, do not abandon her. She made a mistake, yes, but she is still your wife. Can you not forgive?" I closed my eyes, gripping the phone tightly. The word forgive echoed like a cruel test. I wanted to say yes to ease her mother's pain. But forgiveness is not just words. It is rebuilding trust, and trust was a bridge already burned to ashes. "I cannot," I said finally. "She destroyed what we had. This is not about anger anymore. It is about truth. And the truth is, I can never see her the same way again." Her mother wept softly. For a moment I pitied them. Her parents had raised a daughter they thought was loyal and devoted. But the choices she made had shattered not only me, but their pride as well. Weeks later, her brother came to see me in person. He sat across from me in a small tea shop, his jaw tight, his fists clenched. "You could have forgiven her," he said coldly. "You did not have to humiliate her with this divorce." I stared back at him, calm but firm. "I did not humiliate her. She humiliated herself. She chose him. She lied. I am not the villain here." His eyes softened then, anger dissolving into something like regret. "I just do not understand why she risked everything." Neither did I. That was the tragedy. We rarely get the answers we deserve. Her attempts to reach me grew more desperate. Letters slipped under my door. Messages from unknown numbers. Once, she even waited outside my office in the rain, shivering, begging for me to just talk. "Please," she cried, grabbing my hand. "I will do anything. I will cut him off forever. I will go to therapy. I will prove myself to you." Her tears once had power over me. Now they felt like empty raindrops on stone. "You should have thought of all this before," I said quietly. "Not now, when everything is gone." She dropped to her knees on the wet pavement. People stared. Whispers filled the air. But I did not care. I gently pulled my hand free and walked away. It was not cruelty. It was survival. But even as I walked away from her, I wrestled with my own demons. Part of me still wanted revenge. I wanted her to feel the humiliation I had felt, to know the depth of pain she had caused. At night, I imagined exposing her messages to the whole family, posting the photos, letting everyone see the truth. But then another part of me spoke, the quieter part, the part that wanted peace. It whispered, "Revenge will keep you tied to her forever. Do you really want that?" I struggled with this war inside me. Some days anger won. Other days, silence felt stronger. In the end, I chose silence. Because my dignity was worth more than her downfall. Months passed. Healing came slowly, but it came. I started to rebuild my life, brick by brick. I focused on work. I spent time with friends I had neglected. I laughed again, cautiously at first, but it felt real. And then came an unexpected twist. One afternoon, a mutual friend told me that the man she betrayed me with had already left her. He had moved on to someone else, leaving her broken and alone. At first, I felt a rush of dark satisfaction. Karma had found her. The man she risked everything for had discarded her like an old toy. But then, strangely, I felt pity. Because betrayal is a curse, it destroys not just the betrayed, but the betrayer too. She had gambled with love, and she had lost everything. The final time I saw her was months later. I was at a park, sitting on a bench, reading. She walked by, thinner than before, her shoulders slouched, her eyes hollow. She looked at me, and for a moment I saw the girl I had once loved. But then I remembered everything, and the vision faded. She gave me a weak smile, almost an apology, almost a plea. I nodded politely, nothing more. That was our true goodbye. Not words, not anger, but silence. Looking back now, I see betrayal differently. It is not just about losing someone you love. It is about losing the illusion you lived in. It forces you to face reality, no matter how painful. I learned that forgiveness is not always possible, and that is okay. Sometimes walking away is the bravest form of self-love. So if you are listening to me now, know this: you do not have to forgive to heal. You do not have to stay to prove your strength. Sometimes strength is leaving. Sometimes strength is choosing yourself. If my story touched you, subscribe to Betrayal Tells for more shocking real-life cheating and heartbreak stories. And share in the comments, would you forgive, or would you walk away? The marriage was over before the cake was cut. But betrayal did not end me. It remade me. And from the ruins of heartbreak, I built something stronger, myself.